so many powerful stories in this book. We interviewed 21 people, really people who've done powerful things, and made such a difference through their asking journey. And it's fascinating to read it because you don't realize the power of one question until you really take a deeper dive into this, and that's why when we wrote the book, we got the idea, we're like, we have to share this. This is gold,
So you guys kind of have a formula. I can kind of see some of this because if you look at like Napoleon Hill, he had proximity to some of the most powerful people in the world, and he leveraged it by going and interviewing how many people?
500 people.
500 people, turned into Think and Grow Rich.
Sold 100 million during the Depression. I say he got us out of the Depression, just like 1898. Signs of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles, and the other book by Horatio Algier got us out of the Depression, 1898. And that book did, and then My Minister in New York, Norman Vincent Peale, Power of Positive Thinking, those two things revectored people's heads. Because depression happens for two reasons. Number one, we constipate trade, which is what we're doing right now, which is dumbass squared. And I'm really judgmental on that. And then number two is that if you think bad thoughts, if you ask yourself how to go bankrupt, you go bankrupt. If you ask yourself, and we'll teach very specifically how to do it in a second if you're interested, but if you ask yourself, the size of your question determines the size of your result is one of the questions in there. So if you ask yourself, how am I going to make $1 million this year? Subconscious goes teleologically, beep, 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 beep. You say, how am I going to go bankrupt, which I did in 1974. I lost $2 million in one day. Check a book out of the library, the biggest library in the world, New York Public Library, How to Go Bankrupt by Yourself. Asked the wrong question, but it was my best, worst experience long-term. But short-term, man, I was trash.
Yeah.
So that's the formula, though, because you kind of took that interview style and said, they're onto something. Go find these stories, go find these people. And the Chicken Soup for the Soul turned out to be this ridiculous series full of just stories, right? These like really heartfelt, like leave you crying or leave you laughing, leave you full of joy or leave you totally like just emotional stories. Right. So, and that seems to be kind of a formula that you've mirrored and modeled.
Well, we love stories. Yeah. Because stories, stories are like metaphors for our lives. We can relate to stories emotionally. So we really feel like it's important to use stories, the power of storytelling.
What's one of the best stories in Chicken Soup for the Soul? The one that stands out the most to you where you're like, man, this, when it hit and people just went nuts.
By the way, every one of them does. That's why the books work. If they didn't, it wouldn't. We scale it and we test it on the audience. Like our publisher said, Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul isn't going to sell because I got teenagers. They buy CDs, concert tickets, and clothes, and I give them $50. And I say, "Where's the money?" And they said, "The mall ate it." Well, the story, just one little one, is that a little 4-year-old is in the kitchen with mommy, and the next door neighbor is 82, and his wife just died, and the little mommy's telling little kid what happened. He runs out the door, runs across. She opens up the blinds and sees him run up the stage to the next door neighbor, jump in this guy's lap who's out in a rocker. He's there for 3 hours. Comes back home and mom's wondering, what did you ever talk to our neighbor about? Said, nothing, mommy. I just helped him cry.